And let me share my screen. Okay, I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we'll begin with salutations to our gurus. Yeah, sorry, Ajay, you were saying something?
No, I was just pointing out presentation mode, but yeah, that's
Okay,
fine. Good.
okay. Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. We'll start with the Shanti mantra. Asato ma satgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. From untruth, lead me to the truth. From darkness, lead me to light. From death, lead me to immortality. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. Okay, good morning and good evening to everyone. So today's class, we will again, as usual, do a quick recap of our previous class. So today we will continue with our timescales in Indian astronomy, and we should be completing it today. And we will have the Q&A towards the end, as usual. Right. So before I start, thank you very much for those who submitted the last week's assignment. I know it was a little bit on the tougher side, but I hope you were able to kind of refresh the content from the last two classes, and hopefully it was an interesting experience. And next week, we will dedicate the first few minutes to discuss this assignment, along with maybe a small assignment that I will give towards the end of today's class. And then, and with that, I think we would have completed the this particular module of the course, which is timescales in Indian astronomy, right? So let us go forward with today's class. Okay, so we'll revisit the Sankalpa mantra that we discussed a couple of classes back. So it started with the large time scales like the life of the Brahma or the day of the Brahma that we are currently living in. We go through the Parartha. We saw that there are the one day of Brahma corresponds to corresponds to one kalpa, and one kalpa corresponds to 14 manvantras. And we saw that the manvantras were further subdivided into 63 Divya Yugas, each Divya Yuga containing the four Yugas, the Satyuga, the Krita Yuga, the Treta Yuga, and sorry, the Satyuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga, and the Kali Yuga in the ratio 4:3 to 1. We also discussed the two types of calendars, the solar calendar and the lunar calendar. The lunar calendar tracks the Samvatsara, and we saw that we are currently in the Vishwavasu Nama Samvatsara. And within that Samvatsara, we are in the Dakshinayana. There are two Ayanas, the Dakshinayana and the Uttarayana. We also saw that each Ayana consists of three seasons. Currently, we are in the Sharad Ritu, or what we call as the autumn season. And we also saw that there are 12 lunar months within one Samvatsara, and currently we are in the Margashirsha Masa. And each Masa has two Pakshas, the Sukla Paksha and the Krishna Paksha. Currently, we are in the Krishna Paksha, and I think it's Krishna Paksha. I think when we did this class, we were in Shukla Paksha, but now we are in Krishna Paksha. And we are now, and then we also saw that Each paksha has 15 tithis, starting from Pratipad all the way till Amavasya, and then from Amavasya all the way till Pratipad all the way till Purnima, and Purnima to Amavasya, right? And then so that's what we discussed, in a little bit of detail with some mathematical calculations and all that until last class. Today we will visit the further subdivisions of time. So primarily we will focus on the weekday and nakṣatra, yoga, and karaṇa. We will not. So we will just cover that as part of the larger pañcāṅga calculation. And with that, I think we would have covered all the time scales. We'll briefly touch upon the very small or the minute level time scales that are also recorded in Indian astronomy. And I think that should be that should kind of complete the discussion on this particular subject. Yeah, Faniraj, I think you have raised your hand. Question?
Yeah. From the Sankalpa, I think it's Krishna Paksha, not Shukla Paksha. Today is the Tritiya, it's almost end of Tritiya, Chaturthi. It's a Krishna Chaturthi.
Yeah, Krishna Chaturthi, right? Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure, but we are definitely in the Krishna Paksha. That much I know. Yeah. But anyway, I think we get the point, right? The point is that there are two pakshas within a masa, and the waxing moon is called Shukla Paksha, and the waning moon is called the Krishna Paksha, right? I think that's what it is. Yeah. And importantly, we also saw that a lunar month consists of 29.5 days, adding up to 354 days in the lunar calendar per samvatsara. But then the solar calendar consists of 365 days. It is the difference that accumulates over a period of 33 months and gives us the Adhika Masa. We had also asked one question regarding when the next Adhika Masa is, and some of you had given the right answers for that as well. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, so these are the concepts that we have covered so far. So let's go forward from here, right? So coming to the Vasara, or the weekday, day of the week, right? So why it is fine. So the weekday, we don't find a lot of references to weekdays in say Itihasas or Puranas, right? So for example, I tried searching for reference of weekday in Ramayana and Mahabharata. I couldn't really find any. So it looks like the concept of the weekdays as we know it today comes more during the Siddhanta times, and towards the later part of the astronomical evolution, right? So in specific, we see that the Aryabhatiya Kalakriya Pada has this particular shloka, Saptaite Pureshaha Shanaish Yathakramam Shigraha Shigra Krama Chaturtha Bhavanti Suryodaya Dinapaha. Right? So Dinapaha is the lord of a particular day. Right? So the lord, every day is lauded by a particular graha, which is referred to as Dinapaha. Right? So these seven lords of the hours, Saturn and the others, are in order swifter than the preceding one. So what they have done is they are arranging the different grahas in the ascending order of their speed around the earth, right? So the aim here is to establish a sequence for the weekdays, and the basis for that is the orbital speed of these grahas. And as we all know, Saturn is the farthest from the sun and from the earth, and from an earth perspective, it is the slowest moving graha. In fact, Saturn takes about 30 years to complete one revolution against the fixed backdrop of stars. And we also touched upon this briefly in a previous class when we said that the 2 revolutions of Saturn is what constitutes the 60-year cycle of the Samvatsara as well, right? So we try to sequence the weekdays in a particular order, or the lords in a particular order, right? So it gives this. We have Saturn as the slowest graha, followed by the Jupiter, followed by Mars. Obviously, these are the exterior planets, which are kind of outside the orbit of the Earth. So they are the slowest. And then Sun, right? So Sun is, because Sun takes 1 year to come around the Earth, or Earth takes 1 year to go around the Sun, depending on how we look at it. But then the inner planets, the Venus and Mercury, are obviously much faster than the other planets. And Moon, being the closest to the Earth, is comes around the Earth very, very fast in a relative manner. So the order of these days are Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Moon. I can see some hand raised, but maybe can I take the questions towards the end of this class, if that's okay, with whoever is asking the question? Okay, I take that as a yes. Okay, so we have the planets ordered in the ascending order of their orbital radius, right? So it gives a certain order. So there's Saturn, there is Jupiter, there is Mars, Sun, Venus, Mercury, and Moon, right? So now Surya Siddhanta has this sloka, right? Starting from the Saturn downward, the 4th graha is called the Lord of the day, right? So the graha starting from the Saturn successively downwards are the lords of the hour, right? So every day has many hours, right? So every 60-minute interval is called as a hour or a hora. So obviously the word hour itself is derived from the word hora, which means a period of the daytime, right? So each hora of the day has a specific lord, which can be one of these 7 lords, right? And what we're saying here is, starting from the Saturn downward, the 4th graha is called the Lord of the day, right? So what does that mean? So I think the 4th graha is important. So if you take from Saturn, you see that the 4th graha in this order of ascending orbital radius is Sun, right? And from the Sun, the 4th graha is the Moon. And from the Moon, the 4th graha is Mars. And from Mars, the 4th graha is Mercury. From Mercury, the 4th graha, as per this sequence, is Jupiter. And from Jupiter, the 4th graha is Venus. And from Venus, the 4th graha is Saturn. Right? So you see that Saturn, the 4th graha is Sun, which corresponds to the Sunday or the Bhanuvasara. And from Jupiter, and from Sun, the 4th graha is the Moon, which gives you the Induvasara, and so on and so forth, right? So this is the framework that establishes the order of the weekdays, right? So the order of the weekdays is Sun followed by the Moon. Moon is followed by Mars, which is Tuesday. Mars is followed by Mercury, which is Wednesday. Mercury is followed by Jupiter, Thursday. Jupiter is followed by Venus, Friday, and Venus is followed by Saturn, which is Saturday. So this 4th graha concept is what is important to understand after sequencing these planets in the ascending order of their orbital radius, right? Or in the descending order of their speed around the Earth. And this is the basis for the sequence of the weekdays as we know it today. And this basis has not only been followed in India, but if you look at the other civilizations of the world like China and Cambodia Bali, the Indonesia, the civilizations that are towards the east, or as well as the civilizations towards the west, which is the Greek and the Egyptian, they also have relied upon this particular framework to establish the sequence of the weekdays, and that's why the entire world actually follows this sequence of weekdays, right? So where does it have its origins? Is it from India or is it from different places? We do not know that. Maybe not the scope of this particular module, but this is our Indian astronomical texts are providing us a certain, let's say, a rational basis for this sequence of the weekdays, right? So this sequence is, it's just not random. It encodes a rhythm, right? So the way to intuitively understand this is fast planets, like the moon, bring immediate daily effects, right? So for example, we say that today is Chandrashtama, right? So Chandrashtama is when the moon is present in a Rasi, that is the 8th from your natal moon, right? And it's generally said to avoid certain days during Chandrashtama because the moon is not in a very favorable position. What it means is the moon is either acting negatively or positively within that 1 day frame, because after that 1 day it is so fast that it moves out of that sign to a different sign. So its effect kind of wanes off, right, on a shorter time scale. Whereas something like a Saturn has a much larger, it operates on a larger time scale. So it has a much more long standing effect on the person, right? So, and our life is a combination of forces that act on small time scales versus forces that act on large time scales. And this weekday framework encapsulates all that in a certain way, right? So, see, if you look at Saturn is the slowest planet, right? However, if you look at Sun is somewhere in the middle. It's neither fast nor slow, right? And that comes next. Now, from the Sun, you go to Moon, which is the fastest, right? So within 3 moves, you're actually coming from the slowest to a medium slow to a very fast planet. And from Moon, when you go to Mars, you're again going towards the slower side. And when from Mars, you are going to Mercury, you're again going to a slightly faster orbital speed there. And from Mercury to Jupiter, you again go on the slower side. So like this, right? They are trying to kind of balance out the order of the weekdays to represent the order of the speeds, in a very balanced manner, right? So however you look at it, this sequence, makes sense, and this is what is present in our Indian text, like Surya Siddhanta and Aryabhatiya, right? So this is the order, right? Now, another way to understand, right, is to understand the concept of a hora. So, what is a hora? Let's look at that. But maybe I'll just take a pause here, and I don't know who is asking the question. Maybe I can take the question now. Shanesh Charaha, this is correct. Yeah, Shanesh Charaha is literally the slow moving. Yeah. Thank you, Harini madam, for pointing that out. Yes. Saturn is always associated with slowness and its ability to act on larger time scales and ability to, even from an astrological perspective, ability to, create things that have a long-standing effect. So it's always associated with a certain long-term nature, exactly as opposed to the moon, which is a very fast-moving, and its effects are on a short time scale basis. So thank you very much for that. So let's move on. Okay. So let's just remember this sequence, right? So this sequence keeps repeating. And by the way, just to, or the another way of looking at it is, if you look at this sequence, right? So Jupiter corresponds to Thursday, which comes 2 days before Saturday. Then Mars is Tuesday, which comes 2 days before Jupiter, or Thursday, right? And then there is Sunday, which comes 2 days before. So the another way to remember the sequence is you go 2 days before, right? So that is another. It's the same as saying go 4 days forward. but it's just easier to remember. So we'll discuss this more when we talk about the hora also. Right? So in this cycle, you're actually going 2 days before a particular day. Right? So I think that's the way this is sequenced. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about so there's the concept of ahoratra. Right? So ahoratra is the literal meaning of that is ahascha ratrishcha dvayoho samahara, which is it is a combination of the daytime and the nighttime. So a day consists of what is called as a day is called as ahoratra. Is aha and the ratri both are part of that. Right now, like you said, every day is divided into different horas. Right, so there are different times of the day when certain grahas have their energies kind of accentuated, right, or kind of energy is acting much more than the other grahas, right? So they rule certain hours of the day or certain parts of the day, right? Now let us take a Sunday, for example, right? On a Sunday, say sunrise on Sunday.
Madhu, we lost you.
Yeah, I think he's frozen.
After sunrise is ruled by the sun.
Madhu, we lost you for a few minutes, Madhu.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you started you started off on Sunday and then we lost you.
Okay. Is it fine now?
It's better
Yes.
now.
Yeah, it's okay now. About a minute we lost.
Okay. So what I was saying was on a Sunday at sunrise, the hora of that day runs, which is the sun's hora itself, right? So for that matter, on any day, the first hora of that day is ruled by the planet corresponding to that day. So which means that on the first hora of Sunday, you have the sun. Now, if you look at the sequence, the next hora should be that of Venus, right? So at 7 a.m., you have Venus hora starting, right? Now, and then after Venus, you have Mercury, right? So you just follow this order and you just get the different horas: Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, right? So each of these horas has a specific energy. That is, of course, I'm just projecting this to astrology here, but every hour has an energy. For example, you say that if you want to talk to your boss, for example, right, you call him on a Sunday sun hora because sun represents your boss or leadership, in astrology. Similarly, if you want to take a decision on finance, for example, right, maybe do it during the Jupiter hora. These are rough thumb rules, but the idea is not every hour is the same on a given day. Every hour it just goes through a cyclical motion where different energies are at play, right? And it is determined by the sequence that we see here, right? Now, after Mars, it's again the sun's hora. So every day at 6 o'clock and at 1 o'clock, you will have the hora of the graha which rules that day. Right? In this case, it is the sun, and that pattern repeats. So you have again Venus. 3 o'clock you have Mercury. 4 o'clock you have Moon. 5 o'clock Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, and again at 8 o'clock you have the sun. Right. So if you just keep going like this, the last hora on a Sunday will be Mercury, after which the next sunrise happens. Now, if you follow the sequence, what comes after Mercury is Moon, right? So the next day has to start with the Moon's hora. That's why the next day is a Monday. So this is another way of saying why does Monday follow Sunday? Monday follows Sunday because the next day starts with the hora of the Moon as per the sequence of the planets which are arranged in the order of the ascending orbital radius. Right? So that's the answer to why Monday follows a Sunday. So for Monday again, you follow the sequence, you'll get Saturn at 7 o'clock, Jupiter at 8 o'clock, Mars at 9 o'clock, so on and so forth. The last hora of Monday will be Jupiter's hora. Now after Jupiter, you have to have Mars, and hence the next day becomes Tuesday, right? So on and so forth. So the order of the weekdays is actually established by the hora of the or the sequence of the hora lords that are there, which is the same way of saying the fourth hora of any particular day is actually the lord of that next day. So for sun, the fourth hora is moon, which is, so the next day is Monday. For moon, the fourth hora is Mars, which is why the next day is a Tuesday. Tuesday, the fourth hora is Mercury. That's why the next is. So on and so forth. So you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, and this cycle keeps on repeating, right? So this is a very, I mean, at least when I read this for the first time, we always have this question, right? Why should Monday follow Sunday? So to me, this provided a very credible and a very rational framework for understanding why this particular sequence of days is followed, and so that is what I just wanted to share as part of the weekday discussion, right? And I hope you also found it interesting. And if you already knew it, I hope you're able to appreciate this as well, right? So let's move on. Okay, now, so we have covered kind of all the time scales, right? Almost all of them, let me put it that way. So we initially started with the life of the Brahma, and then we went to the Kalpa, Manvantara, Kali Yuga, Samvatsara, Ayana, Ritu, Masa. We just now talked about the Ahoratra, which is the 24 hours and 1 day. And then further going on, every Ahoratra, every day is further divided into 30 muhurtas, right? So it's a factor of 30. There are 30 muhurtas, each spanning 48 minutes. And as you might know from popular culture, certain muhurtas are favorable for certain auspicious activities, and hence importance is given to performing certain acts during certain muhurtas. And if you go further, one half of a muhurta is actually a nadika, or 24 minutes, or in Tamil, I think we call it as a nadigai. And further subdividing into 60, you get the vinadika, which is 24 seconds. And then you can keep going on and on. So there's a prana, which is 4 seconds. And there's a kashta, 1.6. And then there's a guru akshara, 0.4. Nimisha, it goes all the way till very, very, very small time scales like Anu and Paramanu. All of them are actually not even covered in this slide, right? But then there is a time scale which starts from something astronomically huge, like the life of Brahma, which is like 311 trillion years, all the way till a nanosecond level, right? And all of these are covered, and all of these are present because each of them represent a certain rhythm of the of the planets, or what happens in the cosmos, which is what has been kind of abstracted as time units, right? So see, time itself is limitless. Time does not have a start; it does not have an end, as per our Bharatiya Astronomy, right? All these units of time are more of man-made limitations, right? To put it in a certain way, which are created for our own convenience, and they also follow the cyclical nature of the cosmos itself, right? So vernal equinox to vernal equinox gives you an year, and one lunar, one full moon to another full moon gives a month. So it is just a representation of these, these cyclical events, right? These are more for our convenience, for related to the conducting of the rituals and for the other functions that we have created this. But time itself, Bharatiya Astronomy acknowledges that it is limitless and it follows a certain cyclical pattern in the whole scheme of things, right? So that's basically what time is, right? Now let's go to pañcāṅga, right? So pañcāṅga, as the name suggests, is a 5-dimensional measure of time, right? So, one second. Yeah. So the pañcāṅga is the essential 5-part calendrical system designed to determine the precise correct time required for performing Vedic rituals and fixing societal festivals. So today we refer to the pañcāṅga for almost everything, right? So the pañcāṅga is a, let's say, it's a very simplified
We lost your audio, sir.
Yeah, again the audio is gone, Madhu.
Sorry, one second. Okay, I think it should be better now.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Yeah. So the pañcāṅga is the basis for fixing all auspicious activities, starting from coronation of the or the swearing in of the prime minister, all the way till fixing a very small function, at home, right, and everything in between, right. But what is actually a pañcāṅga? Mathematically speaking, or computationally speaking, pañcāṅga consists of, number one, the tithi, right? So we saw that there are 30 tithis, 15 on the Shukla Paksha and 15 on the Krishna Paksha. What is exactly tithi? So tithi is a measure of how far the moon is separated from the sun, right? So the closer the sun and the moon are, it is the Amavasya. The farther the sun and the moon are 180 degrees to each other, it is the Purnima. And as the moon moves further away from the sun before it joins, we get into the Krishna Paksha and the Krishna Paksha Tithi, right? So the angular separation between the moon and the sun is what we call it as a Tithi. Then we have the vāra, which we just saw. It is the duration from sunrise to sunrise. And by the way, every limb of the pañcāṅga is also associated with the tattva, right? One of the 5 elements. Tithi is the Jala tattva, the vāra is the Agni tattva. This does not have any, it has of course some basis on astrology, but not much from an astronomy perspective, right? Then we have nakṣatra. So there are 27 nakṣatras. Nakṣatras are associated with the Vayu tattva, and nakṣatras are related to the moon's position in the background of the stars, right? And whenever we talk about background of stars, obviously it refers to the Nirayana system or the sidereal way of calculating it. There are 27 nakshatras that are conveniently bucketed into 12 rasis. And then we have what is called as a yoga. Yoga again is related to the sun and the moon, except that we don't see the angular separation between the sun and the moon, but we consider the sum of the longitudes of the sun and moon, and the resulting number is then divided into 27 different yogas, and this is ruled by the Akasha Tattva, which is ruled by Jupiter. Again, certain yogas are favorable for certain activities and certain yogas are not favorable. So it's just another subdivision of time on a particular day. And then we have what is called as a karaṇa. Karaṇa is exactly 1/2 of a tithi. So since there are 30 tithis, there are 60 karaṇas in one lunar month. These karaṇas are further subdivided into chara and stira. Charas are the movable karaṇas, and the stira are the fixed karaṇas. Again, there nothing astronomically, it's just a calculation, but again it has some astrological connotation. So let's just leave it at that. So these are the 5 limbs of the pañcāṅga, and which are calculated and used for fixing auspicious times for specific activities. There's an entire set of rules, of course, in Vedic astrology to say if the pañcāṅga is such and such, then this can be done, this cannot be done. There are auspicious days for doing certain things that are auspicious, tithis for doing certain things auspicious, nakṣatra for say moving into a new house, for taking a travel and all those things. Everything is governed by the pañcāṅga system. Now let us take a very simple example of how, or let's look at the calculation of how the pañcāṅga is done, right? Mathematically. So a tithi is nothing but the longitude of the moon minus the longitude of the sun divided by 12 degrees, right? So when you say longitude, what do you mean by longitude? Longitude is the measure of how far this graha is from the vernal equinox point or the beginning of Mesha, for example, right? So you can find this value in any common ephemeris or in astronomical software like Jagannath Hora. But this is the longitude, right? So that is the longitude. So it ranges from 0 to 360, right? So of course, if this becomes negative, right, because the sun's longitude is greater than the moon's longitude, then you just add 360, right, and then you can divide it by 12, and then you can take the. So this is the Nirayana longitude that we'll have to consider. Then just divide it by 12, and then you get. So just a simple a corner case for this is if the longitude of the moon and the longitude of the sun are same. This is 0, which gives you a Amavasya Tithi. So the Amavasya Tithi, if you recollect, starts at 0 degree angular separation, right? On the other hand, when your longitude of the moon and the longitude of sun are 180 degrees apart, 180 divided by 12 will give you 15, and 15 always represents the Purnima. So your 0 degree angular separation is Amavasya, and the 180 degrees angular separation is the 15th Tithi, which is the Purnima Tithi, and so on and so forth. We'll look at an exact calculation, but this is the idea. Then we have vāra, which as we just saw it can be one of these 7 days. It's straightforward, no calculation fortunately required for this. And then you have the nakṣatra. Nakṣatra is nothing but the longitude of the moon divided by the 13 degrees and 20 minutes. And where does this 13 degrees 20 minutes? It comes from the 360 degrees of the zodiac divided into the 27 nakshatras, right? So, for example, if the longitude of the moon is between 0 and 13 degrees 20, right? This will give you the very first nakshatra because the quotient will be 0. 0 plus 1 will give you the first nakshatra, which is Ashwini nakshatra. So that's the corner edge case for the nakshatra, right? And we have a list of nakshatra longitudes, in the appendix. You can refer to it, right? Every nakshatra will start at a certain longitude and end at 13 degrees 20 minutes away from that longitude, totaling up to 360 degrees across 27 nakshatras. So that's the nakshatra. Then you have yoga. Now the yoga is the longitude of the moon plus the longitude of the sun divided by 800, right? The only difference is you have to take the longitude in degrees and convert it into minutes by multiplying with a factor of 60, right? So sorry, I think I have made a copy paste mistake here. I've just copied the above text here. Sorry about that, but this is the formula for the yogas, right? It's a simple calculation, nothing much. So what happens is when you get this number and you add the plus 1 to it, and you take the yoga corresponding to it, that's the yoga that's running at a particular time, right? And then finally you have the karaṇa. Karaṇa is the longitude of the moon minus longitude of the sun divided by 6, which is nothing but exact half of a tithi, which is the definition of a karaṇa, right? And then there are 11 karanas, like we mentioned, 4 sthira and 7 chara, and whatever number comes, you just look up that particular karana and you say that that's the karana for that particular day, right? So let's look at a very quick calculation with an example. So November 30th, 2025, 8:30 IST on Chennai, right? So let's look at this. So let me quickly take you to this point. Okay. So by the way, this is the longitude. So this column gives you the longitude, and there are values that you can look up in a ephemeris, which I have shared along with this deck as well. So you can look it up, right? So for example, right, let's take say the longitude of the moon is 1354 approximately, which is what we have noted down here, right? So, and this gives you the absolute longitude to be 333.54. So why is it 333.54? Because there are 12 rashis, and each rashis span 30 degrees. So if the moon is at the 12th rashi, then you multiply 30 by 11, giving you 330, and then I think I'm right. So it's actually 343. I think, yeah, it's 343, not 333. Sorry for that typo. So it gives you 343 degrees, 54 minutes, right? Similarly, the longitude of the sun is 224. So how is it 224? Sun is posited here, and counting from Mesha, which is the first, you cover 7 rashis, which gives you 210, and then you add this 14 degrees and 26 to give you 224, 27. So you've got the longitude of the sun and the longitude of the moon here, and all you need to now do is apply this to the calculations, right? So tithi, so how do you calculate the tithi? Longitude of the moon minus longitude of the sun by 12. You do this calculation. It gives you a value of 9.95, right? So you can convert these minutes to a decimal system, right? You just have to divide by 60. For example, 27 minutes is 27 by 60, which is 0.45. So when you get this 9.95, right? So this means 9 tithis are completed and the 10th tithi is running. So it has to be a dasami, because the 10th tithi is a dasami, right? But how do you know if it's a Sukla dasami or a Krishna dasami? If it is less than 15, if this resultant number is less than 15, then we are in the Shukla Paksha. So which means the moon has actually not moved to the 180 degrees position yet, which is the Shukla Paksha. Right? So it's a Shukla dasami. Whereas if this number was something like 15 plus 9, 24, for example, right? Then you know that it's a Krishna dasami, right? So that's how you fix the Shukla or the Krishna. And obviously, you can see from the positions of the sun and the moon that so the sun and the moon were present at this place during Amavasya. It has not yet reached the 180 degrees position in which the Paurnami happens. So the moon is still waxing. So that's also another clue to say that it is still the Shukla Paksha that is running. And you can here see that it is indeed Shukla Dasami that this software has also calculated. Right? So that gives you the tithi. Nakṣatra, similarly, this 343 divided by 1320, which gives you 2579. So 25 nakshatras have passed, and we are currently running the 26th nakshatra. And even within the 26th nakshatra, almost 80% of the nakshatra is completed. So if I just move the time to a little bit in future, the next nakshatra, so 26th is running, which is Uttara Bhadrapada, right? So there are 27 nakshatras. 26th is Uttara Bhadrapada, 27th is Revati, and again back to 1 it is Ashwin. So the current the nakshatra on this particular time is Uttara Bhadrapada. The vāra is Sunday, November 30th. I think it was last Sunday, which is when I had planned to show this slide, but then I was not able to do it, and hence the date is November 30th. But it is Sunday, and then we have yoga, which is the difference between tithi and yoga is for yoga you add the longitude of the moon and the sun, and it gives you and convert it into minutes, which gives you this number 12501. Okay, I think again, I think some mistake I've done here, but it gives you 15.62. So 15 yogas are completed and the 16th is running, which is the Siddhi yoga, right? And then finally you have the karaṇa. Karaṇa is nothing but tithi divided by 2. So longitude of the moon minus longitude of the sun divided by 6 gives you 19.91. In this case, you have to remove the nearest multiple of 7 because there are like 7 karanas, and then so it gives you 5.91. So fifth, and in this case, you take that the fifth karana is actually running, which is the Garija karana, right? So I think that's the karana calculation. So in this particular case, you have to remove the nearest multiple of 7, right? I think that's the formula here. So in summary, it gives you, tithi is Shukla Dasami, vāra is Bhanuvara, nakṣatra is Uttara Bhadrapada, yoga is Siddhi, and karaṇa is Garija karana. And this is how we calculate the pañcāṅga for any given day, right? Or for that matter, any given time. So I think that completes the calculation of the pañcāṅga. And so I think with that, we kind of wrap up the last 3 classes where we discussed about the concept of time in Indian astronomy. A lot of interesting information is available. You can look at these texts, which will give you more detailed, in-depth information about the concepts we discussed. And for your ephemeris calculations, you can actually refer to this. You can refer to this particular site, which has some very good information on on the ephemeris data. So let it load. It's a bit slow today. Okay. While it loads, I think that is it. So for the next class, I just kept a very simple assignment for you to calculate the pañcāṅga for the next Sunday, which is December 14th,
Madhu, which
2025.
location? Which location?
You can take it for
Chennai?
you can take it for your own location, sir. Nothing.
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
You can take it at your respective locations at sunrise. Let's put it that way, right?
Okay, sure.
And I will just change this question accordingly, and you can calculate that.
No problem.
So I think so. Let me quickly show this. So here you can actually choose any particular day, right? So for example, we talked about December. So you should just stay there. It's slow. So if you look at December, it gives you, say, December 14th, right? So December 14th, it has the absolute longitude for every planet. So Sun is at 238 degrees 1 minute. Moon is at 171 degrees. So you can just refer to these values for the absolute longitudes, and you can just make sure that you have selected the sidereal lahiri system, because all the pañcāṅgas that are used in India use the sidereal lahiri, or what we call as the Nirayana. So if you recollect our discussion about Nirayana and Sayana, the Nirayana system is considered as the basis for all our pañcāṅgas. And make sure that you are choosing absolute degrees, because you want to know the absolute separation from the 0 point, which will typically be numbers crossing 230 and all that, right? And the rest you can keep it whatever you want. And you might want to understand what these symbols are. I think Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, I think Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and this must be Rahu, Ketu, but that doesn't matter, right? So you can just take these. But of course, you just need the Sun and the Moon for pañcāṅga calculations. You don't need anything more than that. So you can just use this. You can find the link in the deck that I will share. Right. So that is it. So I think we covered some good ground, starting from the life of Brahma all the way till the minutest time scales, and we saw the important time scales and their significance in that process, and we also saw how it mapped to what we actually say on a daily basis. So I hope when you say the Sankalpa today, tomorrow you will have a much better context, and hope these discussions will come up in your mind whenever we talk about the Sankalpa mantra, and we are conscious of where we are in the time and space, so that whatever activities we are doing will actually bear fruit, right? Because we are unifying ourselves with the rhythm of the cosmos by specifying this our time and place in the universe. Right? So with that, I'll just take a pause for this entire module. We'll have a new module starting next week that Ajay ji will start. Yeah, so any questions, comments, suggestions, welcome at this time.
Very nice, Madhu. I'm repenting that I missed the previous classes, but I will look at the videos. It was very nice.
Thank you.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I think if you look at the previous videos and then this, it will kind of flow in a certain sequence that makes more sense rather than just this one. Yeah, I think we can do that. Thank you, sir.
Actually, a quick note, Madhu. This is Ram.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sitting in a dark room. So between the tithi, vāra, nakṣatra, and yoga, right? It actually follows the process of what we call as triangulation when we use GPS, right? So two circles intersect at 2 points, right? So if we take a third circle, then and if they intersect, then you will be able to find out exactly the intersection point of all the 3 circles in one place. So that's why we need minimum 3 satellites to give us a position. So typically, so similarly, in our case, the tithi, vāra, nakṣatra, and yoga. So if you take these, actually is like probably a quadrangulation process. So if you just give these 4, you can actually tell the location as well. So this is kind of a date/time system that includes the position of ours in the in Earth as well. Because in terms of the tithi, actually between vāra, nakṣatra, yoga, and the tithi.
You actually need the
And-
only 3, Raja. If you see tithi, vāra, and nakṣatra itself is enough to give that. That is what it is.
True. So, I mean, so the tithi and yoga, right, is basically modulo math. So to tell you which side exactly where you are. So just to kind of give you the, how do I put it, the side of the hemisphere. So to get you, so even for that one that you mentioned, right, in the tithi, whether you can say whether it is Shukla or Krishna Paksha based on the sign. In fact, you just do.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, Ram.
I think Sudhaji had a question on chat.
In cases where pañcāṅgas disagree on festival dates, which of these principles, Anga Pradanya, sunrise-based observance, or astronomical precision should take precedence, and why? Madam, can you please clarify that question? Because I don't know some of the terms that you are using here.
So, yeah, sure, Madhuji. So sometimes, when people follow like different pañcāṅgas, right? Some people observe the start, what tithi and nakṣatra exist at the start of the day during sunrise. Some people take into consideration the tithi, the yoga, or, the nakṣatra of that specific day. And some people, they do like, just as you explained in this, you have been explaining over the last few weeks, do we calculate what is the influence at that specific time that we want to observe the festival? Are we going to look into the astronomical precision of the timings in order to observe those, tithi, for example, Ekadashi fasting? Because if you see, at least on the general calendar, they say like, Shaiva Ekadasi and Vishnu Ekadasi, right? So in this situation, which should take precedence, or is there any specific order? This is the first thing that we should take, and so on.
I think, I think each of us follow a certain system, right, that we are part of. I think that takes precedence over anything else, if you ask me, right? So, for example, right, we use our own pañcāṅga that is published by our mutt, right?
Right.
And this precedence has actually been set by them when they created that pañcāṅga. So, for example, right, the Ekadashi, I think the Ekadashi, the fixing of the tithi is determined by what is the actual precise tithi during the sunrise of that day, right? So even if that tithi is just 1% remaining, if the tithi is in operation during the sunrise, that becomes a tithi for the whole day. Although technically that entire day may be Dwadashi, right?
Okay.
And this is the rule that has been set in my certain parampara, right? So the parampara that each of us follow will have separate rules. For example, something will say, no, the dominant tithi on that day should be actual, right? So astronomical precision, I don't think it takes the precedence. I can definitely say that. It's more of, I think, the tradition and what has been passed here actually determines many of these things. So my very limited knowledge is what I can say. And I hope that's what we also experience on a regular basis.
I second that. Madhu. Today is actually, 6:30. The Tritiya got over. The Chaturthi started, but most of them are doing Sankash Chaturthi today. But from the sunrise point of view, it's tomorrow.
So I think the sunrise point is given a very special place in our in this entire calculation, and that kind of sets the tone for the entire day, so to speak.
Okay.
You're right, actually, because sunrise is the most important factor for us in all aspects of what we do, and hence the tithi on that day is what is taken. It's followed, as you rightly said, by the mutt which we follow, but that's what is generally taken into account. And that's why the tithi varies between each continent as well, when you see what you need to do. So the pañcāṅga which you use in India cannot be used in the US, for example, and the whole thing changes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And everything, the sankalpa that you will do sitting in Atlanta will be completely different.
Correct.
Even geographically it will be different.
Yes.
So you'll be saying something like Atlanta Dvipe or whatever that is, right?
Yes.
Pañcādvipe.
Pañcādvipe, yeah. Yes, sir. Mahesh, sir, you have a question.
Yeah, I think the tithi is same because tithi is constant. Only the day, time changes across the globe, right? That is why, say, suppose we do things in, say, the US on the Western Hemisphere, it is sometimes generally comes a day ahead of what people do in India, for example, because the tithi is same.
Yeah. So
only the time will be different, so the day may be different.
Correct. So the tithi is governed purely, as we just saw, by the longitudes of the moon and the sun.
It has nothing to do with the geographical location.
They're going to be the same irrespective of where you are. But a 6 a.m. in Atlanta is different from a 6 a.m. in Chennai because the longitudes of the moon and the sun will be different during those two times. So in that sense, it is different. But at the same time, at the same point in time, it is exactly the same tithi everywhere. So
so another thing is now you showed a slide where you had all the from nimisha, seconds and all that, right?
Yes.
And there was a statement at the bottom saying that life of Brahma. But what you ended up in you ended your slide in one Kali Yuga, 4,332,000 years, right? But that is not Brahma's life. 100,000 Chaturyuga is Brahma's life. Right?
It's actually a real estate problem more than anything else. I'll show you what I meant by that. So if you look at this slide, so this slide is focusing on the smaller units.
I understand. So I just saw only because of this life of Brahma. I don't know what that meant.
Yeah. So this this dot represents that there is
okay, continuing.
Correct. And why I had omitted this part was because we have actually covered this in our very first lecture, which is this one, right? Where this part is the part that is missing there.
Yeah.
This is the life of Brahma, Kalpa, Manvantara, Divya, of course, in the upside down direction. So you just take it upside down and put it there. That is the remaining part of the slide.
Right.
Because I did not have space to show it here, I just put a dot. Because we have discussed that many times and I didn't want to repeat myself too much on that. That's why. Yeah. But the idea
on
is
this slide, okay. Yeah, I got it. On this slide, there's a statement, time is limitless. What does it mean?
That's what. So, like we have been discussing, right? We cannot say any point where we say time started here or time will end here because of the cyclical nature of the our entire time, right? So, the Brahma's life itself ends after 100 years, but then the Mahapralaya occurs, and after that another Brahma is born. So we can never fix that the first Brahma was born at a particular time or the last Brahma will be. It started nowhere and it's ending nowhere. That's the idea of the time is limitless or unbounded thing, right? And
the reason I'm saying is in Vedas considers both space and time as not given. So most of the other things you say space and time is given. For Vedanta or Veda, it is not given. It is so. In Vedanta says time also is a mithya. Because we use time for our transactional conveniences. That's all.
So
time is not. That is why our things are cyclic. Because you can start anywhere, it could end anywhere. It's not linear. Unlike Abrahamic religion, you say 2000 years ago, there's nothing like that. Here it is, cyclic. You can have infinite number of, you can start anyway. It could have started anywhere.
Yeah. So we emphasize on the infiniteness of time, right? So the time did not, unlike a Big Bang, which tries to say that time began at the Big Bang. We don't say that the time began at any point. We just say it's a cycle, and we are at this point in the cycle, and after that the cycle will repeat. We just stop there. We don't assign terminality to time itself.
Yeah. Another thing is, that's okay. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, that's
okay. So another thing is, you mentioned about the hora being related to hour, right? Another thing is moon. Moon is the Adhisthana Devata for manas or mind. Right. So we say, I don't know whether you might have come across people who are having, mental issues during certain phases of moon, their behavior changes.
Yeah. That's why
yeah, so it is very ironical. Say in English they call it a lunatic, right? It is related to Luna.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this can be the topic for
just like hour is related to hora, lunatic is also related to moon, which is the Adhisthana Devata for mind.
Yeah. No, so there are so many such parallels that we can draw, because at some point the information has gone from India to Greece and to the Western world through that, right? So there's an equivalence of, say, Zeus with Brihaspati. That's why Thor and Thursday. There's a lot of, I think that can actually be
those
it's
very interesting. Right? So some of these English words, you can think if you do a little bit of research, you'll know it all came out of our sense.
For example, in Mongolian, Thursday is called as some Barhad or something like that, which comes from
where?
In Mongolian language.
Oh, Mongolia. Okay.
So the word Brihaspati has somehow turned into some word like Barshad or Barhad or something like that, right? So you can find a lot of such
Yeah, a lot of things. It's very somewhat amazing.
Abraham and Saraswati. Abraham, Brahma, Abraham, Saraswati, Sarah, those kind of, I don't know if it's true or false, but we keep hearing these things.
No, but I think the topic of knowledge going from India to Greek through Persia and Arabia and all that can be a completely different, with the context of astronomy itself can be a separate topic, but maybe we can get there, in this course sometime. But yeah, that's a separate discussion altogether. Yeah.
And there's actually a video by on the Project Shivoham channel where he exactly talked about the similarity in terms and kind of gave some timelines on the drift with evidences on time-based evidences on how the drift happened. Like Pitar for Pitru for father and things like that, right? So we say Matra, then they say Mater, right? Alma mater is what we say for where the school where you come from, right? So with these similarities, it's a pretty good video with a good amount of information that you can use as references when somebody kinds of on this discussion.
Which video are you talking about?
This is actually from a YouTube channel called Project Shivoham.
I'm sorry, what?
Project Shivoham.
Oh.
That is the name of the channel, YouTube channel. I don't remember. If I find it, I'll probably send it out in the group.
Can you type it in the chat box?
Sure.
Madhu, if you can share that software, where the longitude was shown.
Oh, Shivoham. Okay.
If you can share it in the chat, WhatsApp chat.
Yeah, I will have it in the PPT itself. I'll share the PPT, so you'll get all the information in the PPT.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So yeah, I think with that we'll kind of close. I think a slight change of gears. We'll again get into less of mathematical calculations and more into stories with Ajay ji from next week onwards, and and maybe get back to some calculations later in the course. But I hope this module was interesting over the last 2 to 3 weeks. And really thank you for your patience and solving the assignment problems. Thank you, and we'll meet.
Super interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dhanyawada.
Dhanyawada. Punarmilama.
Dhanyawada. Punarmilama.